So on the field of play, when it comes to, and Joe Burrow's comments about, wanting to play and some players maybe not wanting to play, they are hosting the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. The schedule, they were potentially going to be moved to the late window on Sunday, depending on how the Monday night game turned out. As it stands now, it's going to be Ravens at Bengals in Cincinnati, 1 Eastern time coming up on Sunday. And so on the opposite side of things, the hell's going on with Lamar Jackson? This is an odd situation. He's missed a significant amount of time now. He missed practice yesterday. We haven't really gotten a definitive update from his head coach, John Harbaugh, and it looks like we're going to see potentially Tyler Huntley again when Baltimore, who's already clinched a playoff spot, but is sort of kind of been up and down over the past couple of weeks. Huntley's 2-2 as a starter. But last week's game against Pittsburgh did not go well. We saw how that finished up. And so it feels like there's something that maybe we're not being told or that's not happening here with Lamar Jackson as they get ready to take on the Cincinnati Bengals this upcoming weekend.
How much of this do you think has to do with the contract or lack thereof in this case?
And on what side? Whose side?
His side. Because, this might be one of those circumstances where he's staring free agency in the face. Now, they can use the exclusive franchise tag, but I don't think he wants to go that route. And I think this might be something where he's got a knee injury that's serious enough to miss a period of time, but there's also a thought to, do I really want to put myself at risk for an organization that drafted me, has seen me play for 5 years. I've helped this team, be a winning football team. I've won the MVP, yet they don't want to invest in me? Like, what am I really putting myself in harm's way or risk for if I could potentially injure something worse if they're not willing to commit? I wonder if those thoughts are going through his head right now, because I feel like they would be for me, at least naturally as a player and a guy, if you were in his shoes who's done as much as he's done.
Even knowing they could just franchise you.
Yeah, because even then that's not a long-term commitment. I mean, yeah, they could go the franchise tag route for 2-3 years, and that gets the numbers up. But to have to go through a 1 year at a time kind of agreement like that, with all you've done, and you've seen guys who haven't accomplished as much as you get paid sooner, wouldn't that bother you? I mean, no, it's no disrespect to Kyler Murray, but played 3 seasons with the Cardinals.
He's been way better than Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way
and
better.
They paid him. It's like you can make the case other guys who've gotten paid since then, he's been better. How many can say they've been an MVP? Yeah. And I'm not saying by any means his game is a finished product. He's still developing as a passer, and they're still answering questions about, what he is as a passer from the pocket. But that, doesn't change the standpoint that he has been incredible. And when he's in there as a starting quarterback, they're a playoff team. Like, just chalk it up. They're going to the playoffs. It's just a matter of if they can go win a Super Bowl. And, now him dealing with a knee injury and not knowing if he'll come back and be 100% and what that looks like, maybe it's caused him to rethink, what he wants to do and putting himself out there in harm's way.
Ooh. I recall when I had a knee issue, and it had nothing to do with my contract, but I was in a rush, in a hurry to get back out there, go back out there. I'm in practice. I slip in practice and re-aggravate it. Didn't even say anything to anybody, just tried to push through it and work through it. I hope if it's not him, he's not playing because he's erring on the side of caution. I hope that's what the team is doing. I hope that's what he's doing. And it's based off of the value of him as a person and the value of him as a player to their organization. I mean, no one has meant more to that team in recent years than Lamar Jackson. And he has been the catalyst for them getting back on track in terms of being a competitive team. So I think there's a lot of understood and realized value in who Lamar Jackson is and what he represents to the Ravens organization. So I'm hoping that this isn't contract related. That's what I'm hoping for, just for the simple fact that to me, he's one of those guys that comes across as an old school football player. He's a football player, and he's in a football organization, and to me, that's a great match. You've seen what has happened with football players that have played in the Ravens organization. They've been celebrated, they've been rewarded, and for the most part, they generally have started and finished their careers in Baltimore, which you don't really see too often anymore. So I hope that's not the case, that it's the contractual situation that is dictating this.
Do you guys think if they hadn't clinched a playoff spot as of yet, he would still be out? Because I feels like if this was for a playoff spot, he'd figure out a way to be back. And so maybe they're just slow playing it because he's been out for a month, which I don't know that anybody thought it was going to be that long when it initially happened. It seemed like there was going to be some optimism. He might miss a game or two. He's missed 4.
Did he have to get a procedure or anything?
I don't think so.
No, and they haven't said the specifics to the injury. Now, my understanding from some of the people, you get the doctors online, and most of them do a great job as far as diagnosing based on film and what they see. A PCL injury is what I'd heard, which you wouldn't have surgery for, but it would take you a while to recover from or feel normal, depending on the severity. I went through that. I tore my PCL my last game of my college career in the Sugar Bowl. And I remember I didn't even do anything in the combine. So that was, January? And then the combine's, the end of February? I didn't even do anything at the combine, in part because it just didn't feel right. My knee felt loose. As much as I tried to rehab everything else out around it, it really just didn't feel comfortable trying to jump out and run and do all that kind of stuff. And so I would drop back and threw at my pro day, but I really didn't do much else. And to be quite honest, even a couple months later where we did a second pro day to do some testing, still didn't feel right. And so, and look, I'm not anywhere close to the athlete that Lamar Jackson is. So I'm sure he's probably trying to make sure if he's going to come back out there on the field, he can be the Lamar Jackson that is capable of going and winning MVP and going and winning a Super Bowl. And maybe it just doesn't feel right with if it is a PCL injury. That can be something that kind of changes, how he feels when he's running and cutting because of that instability.
It does look like most likely scenario for the first round of the playoffs is they're going to be at Cincinnati again. So they've got Cincinnati this weekend. They already beat them earlier in the year, which was a close game. And then they're going to potentially open up, as it looks right now, at Cincinnati again. So maybe you get Lamar Jackson on 5+ weeks rest, and then he opens up at the Bengals, and we roll from there.